take 2 minutes here. I just wanted to take a minute to remember my auntie. I'm not in the pageant world. I've never performed. I've never done it. But I wanted to remind everybody that my auntie to me is just my auntie. That's who she was. The one thing that, as clear as the pageant world is to her, as much of an integral part of her life that it was, that's the one thing that we never really talked about. Probably I wasn't as versed as I should have been. We talked about everything else, and we talked about her just being my auntie. So I wanted to remember her very quickly with 2 quick stories in church. That's where I would most often see my auntie. I still have a bit of a Jamaican temper, and sometimes I can get a little high and excited, and it gets really hard to bring me down. But there are those few people in your life who have that calming effect on you. And I was standing there in church. My father hadn't come in yet, so he didn't do his usual stuff. But I was excited because someone had done something that excited me. And I turned to the left, and there was my auntie. And she just said, "Nephew, just sit next to me." And that rare calming effect that only my mother used to have, that my father has and my auntie had, came over me, and I calmed down, and I enjoyed the rest of the service. And I thank her, I love her, because that calming effect was because she was my auntie. And the last story was the week that auntie passed. We had no idea that would be the last week that we would see her. I got a call from my father saying, "Son, you got to take her to the hospital now because your auntie's not doing well." So we drove from the south side of Chicago all the way past Evanston. They say it was in Evanston, but I promise you that hospital was past. And the last story that I really have of my auntie is, you're right on that. She's supposed to have clear liquids, and she wasn't supposed to have certain things. And as we got in the room, we were sitting there for a little bit, and my auntie says, "Nephew." I said, "Yes, auntie." "Go get me a Sprite." I look over, and father's like, "You know you're not supposed to have Sprite." "Nephew, go get me a Sprite." So I went down to the Ladies in the hospital, I got her a Sprite, and I got me a Pepsi, and I came back, and then I heard, that Pepsi looks good. I said, "Auntie, you're not supposed to have Sprite, and I got you a Sprite, but you can't have this Pepsi." She said, "Okay, bring me the Sprite, bring me the Sprite." And she was talented. She was talented. She said, "Nephew, stand right there."
That's right.
Stood there. She looked. She made sure I was in the perfect way up the door. She said, "Okay, hold it there, hold it there." So there I was feeding my auntie the Sprite. She wasn't supposed to have it, but I was feeding her the Sprite. And I was like, "Why am I standing here?" She said, "If they come in the door, I made that Sprite. Go sit down in your seat." I said, "Okay, auntie." So in memory of my auntie, just for Thanksgiving dinners, for Easter dinners, for church services, and for Sprite being that thing that you're not supposed to have, but you have it anyway, I just want to say I love you, I'll never forget you, and you'll always be my auntie.
What can I say about Aunt Taj? Well, let's see. There's 3. 1, she was a woman, period. She wasn't trained, she was a woman to me. And she treated me like a nephew just like she treated me. The last time I remember seeing my aunt, I did see her at the hospital. Didn't even know she was sick. Didn't even know what was going on. Get to the hospital and say, "Auntie, what is wrong with you? Why are you in this bed?" "Well, baby, this is what's going on with me." Well, I said, "Well, you could have said something to somebody, but you didn't. Now you here. Now when you get out of here, so I can make you my fried chicken." And I heard about your chicken too, so I want to try yours. But she looked at me and said, "Nephew, my birthday is Auntie. I know. I only make you fried chicken 3 times a year. Mother's Day, your birthday, and Thanksgiving." She said, "Well, my birthday coming up." I said, "I know. I know, trust me, I got your 12 pieces ready to go." So I want to say one thing about my auntie. She was a woman who loved everybody in this room. She loved period because that's who she was. That's who she will always be. So thank you, Auntie, for remembering me and loving me for who I am. And I cannot wait to see your smiling face again. Not too soon, of course, but I'd like to see your smiling face soon again.
I know.
Why
just wondered because I know people get a little restless. And how many people are here from out of town? Would you stand up? Outside of Chicago in the suburbs.
Grace and generosity, Lady Tajma. First time we met, when we were introduced, she said, "You're Janet Ann, and I know that name." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I've seen you on stage. You do a good job. What do you do with that, right?" She said, "You have made my job here in Chicago so much easier." And I looked at her like, "What are you talking about, woman? Because I don't know you from that post." She said, "You have taught so many drag queens how to walk in heels. I can't believe you." And I said, "Well, I just don't want them to hurt themselves." It's hard enough when you're that tall anyway, and you add another 4 to 6 inches, and you're in nosebleed area. I just want the girls to look good. And she said so graciously and so generously, "Thank you for your work. I don't know any female-born female that would help our boys." And I said, "But I'm a lesbian." She said, "I would have never known." I said, "Okay. Nice to meet you too." And from there, whenever I would see her, there would always be a, "You look good walking," or something like that. "Work it, girl," when I would be in my heels. So I will miss her very, very much.
Hello, everybody. I just want first to say that my mother was a lady of many hats. One of which she was pretty much a self-proclaimed advertisee, I would say. I'm wearing right now her favorite fragrance that I carried around with me just so I can always have her spirit with me. And then she promised that she was going to be the leading lady in this lace eyebrow movement. So I'm going to get those eyebrows for you, Mama. But I just wanted to say that the last week that I spent with her at the hospital watching Food Network and just being teased to death with her about all these delicious meals that we were going to get out and eat together, she just reminded me of just loving yourself for who you are. It wasn't always any like a difficult time or like you had to put a front on for her. It was just always you and Taj. No matter who you are, the relationship that you have with Taj is strictly that. The relationship that you have with Taj. It will not match any relationship with anybody else. The last day that I spent with Taj, it was the craziest day. This man came in, I'm looking like, "Who are you?" And he's like giving these crazy looks, and I'm like, "Who are you?" It was me, my sister, Kimora, my boyfriend, G, and my son, Laz, and we were just sitting there, and he came and he said, "I just want to pray for you." And so we were all like, okay, go ahead. And so he prayed, and it touched me so much. And then, right before he left the room, he asked her again, he said, "Who are these people to you?" Because the first time she asked him, she said, "These are my children." And I know he was looking like, well, these 3 black kids look different. And then there's an Asian one, like, "Who are these people to you?" So she, and never in my life have I ever seen her cry, but she broke down and she said, and I don't know if it was for me to relay this message to you, but she said that her family and her friends are the most important thing in her life. Her family, her friends, and her faith, without those 3 things, she would not be who she is today. There would be no way for Taj to be who she was. There would be no way for her to touch our lives in the way that she did. So, sorry. Just thank you.
going to be a little bit short because I moved to Taj a short while. I've only been in Chicago about 2 years now, and it was right around the 1 year mark that was my first time at Nigeria. Just started getting into drag, didn't really know anybody. And I heard from a friend that DiDa was performing at Hydrate, and for me personally, DiDa is an icon for me. That I saw her on TV, I was just always amazed by her. I'm like, I can actually see her in person. So I go there by myself. I was actually just coming from a job interview that day, and this is actually what I was wearing. And so I go there, get a drink, kind of sit in the corner, because I was by myself, didn't know anybody, first time there. I was scared. Halfway through the show, all of a sudden, just someone throws an arm around me. I turn around, and it's almost a little bit spooky, but it was that face. That exact one, to the T. I can't believe that picture is there right now. And I was just taken back because what I always thought about her was of how piercing her eyes are. No matter who she looked at, she was always the same. She just looked at me and she's like, "What you doing sitting by yourself?" I barely stuttered out, "I knew. I don't know anybody." She's like, "Well, you know me now. Come up with me." So literally sat me down front row right at the end of the stage, and I was just sitting there just like shaking the entire time because everybody around me was like, "Who's this fool?" Because literally she went up, pulled the chair out for me and sat me down. And ever since then, just texted, talked on Facebook, always tried to see her shows. The few times that I have performed drag, she's come and seen me. And she always told me, be bolder. Don't be scared, be fearless. And it's just what you said earlier, sir, about her loving everybody. Whether her family, her friends, or literally the first sentence she said to you, she was always there for you. And I've only known her a short while, but she's always going to be with me. In and out of drag, she's going to be there telling me, be fierce and don't be scared.
When he said in and out of drag. I was not the only one surprised. I saw y'all's faces like, really?
I'm not a speaker, but I hate to say something for all the gay Pentecostal boys that she took under her wing, and she saw us and she knew who we were. And I want to talk about 2 instances with the same song. The first, I was going through a really rough time, and she made me come to her show. And she made me stay till the last number. And DiDa came out and said, "This is for Jonathan. Taj loves you." And she performed His Eyes on the Sparrow. The second was a week before she passed. I was sitting in her hospital room and she said, "I need you to pray right now." And I said, "Taj, I don't pray anymore." And she said, "You will pray for me right now." And I held her hand. I prayed, and then I played His Eyes on the Sparrow on my phone. And we listened, and then a nurse came in, and I turned it down a little bit, and she said, "Turn that back up." And then she said, "I forgot about the music on my phone." And we sat and listened to gospel. And then I had to go. I saw her 2 more times, but I'll never forget, as I was leaving, she was looking up, and she was peaceful, and she was just saying, "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus."
So about 2 months ago, I received a text. It said Melanie, and I'm really, really bad with saving numbers, and I'm always losing phones. But anyways, I'm like, yes. And then for some reason, I ended up dialing the number by accident. And then as soon as I noticed that someone was on the phone, I hung up. And then she's like, "Melanie, you hung up on me. This is Taj." I was like, "Woo." Like, sorry, girl, I panicked. I thought it was a trade. Like, no trade here. So she's like, no trade here, it's the madam. I was like, oh, okay. So they were catching up. We were doing it. And then I asked her how's her back doing. She said that she's excited. She was excited that to start performing again. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Melanie Ninja. I am also a LGBTQ youth program coordinator at Oak Park. And one thing that that really touched me was last week when I was texting Rayshawn, and then Rayshawn told me, Taj spoke of you, and she said that you give her hope, for future generations. And that to me meant so much, and I'm so glad that he told me. So thank you, Rayshawn, wherever you're at, and I'll see you. Thank you for texting me that. That really touched me, and I will always remember Taj, and I will always keep that in my heart. Thank you.
Funny thing, when he was talking, when Melanie was talking, and he said, just like it was Trey, I asked him this question, I said, do you have any idea what we're talking about? He said,
All right, one thing I'm going to change is I'm not going to stand behind here because I'm going to be right here. That's what you want me to be. I know. One word that comes to mind when I speak of Taj's name is glue. She brought everybody together. She introduced so many people. She gave me a Chicago family that I would have never expected. I was petrified of Taj when I first met her. I had to sign her name as, like, when I was paying her out, I was giving her the wrong name. And she didn't say one word. But she made me feel comfortable. She gave me DiDa as a sister. She gave me Naisha. She gave me, where else is my family at Hydrate, but it's a nice, knit family. I would have never met half these people if it wasn't for her. So, glue is what she was, and glue is still what she is today. And that will never break that bond that she gave each and every one of us in this room.
Miss Continental 2014, everybody.
So I want to share two things about Taj. My first encounter with her, and then the second thing is, there's certain things that when we lose people in life, we don't get to share with them. And it's something that I've helped with me for a while, and I want to share that with you guys and her especially. But the first thing I'll tell you guys about my first encounter with Taj. So, do you guys remember the Royal? The club, the Royal? No? Nobody?
Oh my goodness.
The Royal. Come on now, please. It was like, we were like 16, DiDa, going into the Royal. If you gave them $10 at the door, because it was 5 at the door, you gave them 10 at the door, he'll let you in without an ID. So I used to go to the Royal, and my career, I owe it to 3 people. The late Miss Kitty, I absolutely love and adore her. Played a huge part of my career, and then Tajma, believe it or not, that day at the Royal, so I paid my $10 to get in, right? And I meet Taj for the first time, and I was actually wearing some Timbs and some jeans hanging off my butt, and a big old shirt, and I had cornrows, but my eyebrows were arched for the guys. And Taj saw me, and she says, "Baby, you're pretty. You can be a queen." And I was like, "I don't think so. I am not going to be a queen." "No, you're going to dress up." I'm like, "No, I'm not, Taj." And I'm looking at her like, who is this telling me that I'm going to be some queen? So we go at it back and forth, but I fell in love with her. She was so adamant about how she felt about I was going to be a queen, whether I liked it or not. Turns out I am a queen. So, ever since then, Taj and I had a great relationship. It hadn't evolved to what it became yet, but we had a great relationship. We were always cordial. She's always super friendly, and always someone you could really talk to. And so, when I did decide to do drag, I did lean on her, and she did tell me the ins and outs, what to do, what not to do, and she taught me the business aspect of it all, and she really taught me to value myself. that, you know, Taj valued herself and her craft, and she really instilled that in her children. And that's something that I will always cherish and appreciate that. That was our first encounter. And then the next thing that I want to share about you with Taj is that I do owe a big part of my career to her, because she was able to share these things with me and really tell me what I should and should not do. And we all know in this business there are some shady people. There are some catty people. And there are more people that don't want you to succeed than want you to succeed. And I am blessed to say that this lady wanted me to succeed. She wanted every single one of you to succeed. That is so rare in this community. This community, we call ourselves a community, yet we lack so many, you know, things and characteristics to really call ourselves a community. And she was our community. And I'm so grateful to have had her be a part of my life. And I want to take this minute just to say to her, thank you so much. And although I wasn't there to tell her in person, you know, I did go to the hospital, but you don't think that these things are going to happen. And it didn't happen. And I wasn't able to express to her how grateful I am for everything that she did for me and how she touched me. And I just want to say thank you, Taj, from the bottom of my heart, for everything that you've done for me and everybody else in this room. Thank you.
Been working for Jesus a long time. I'm not tired yet. Been working for Jesus a long time. I'm not tired yet. If you never heard that song, then you ain't never seen Taj Mahal. What she did was she kept the spirit alive in the club scene, in the drag scene, in the trance scene. Whatever you believe in, children, you got to keep the spirit of why you live, why you do drag, why you suffer, why you go through those physical transformations. You must remember the spirit of why you do it and never get tired. I wasn't privy, I wasn't blessed enough to have those moments that many of you have had. I didn't know her personally like that. We only had two motherfucking conversations, and they were real talk. The first conversation was, wow, we the only two black niggas. What she said, her response was, girl, Saya, I don't know. She said, sometimes our people, we get funny, but we get that way because we claim that we want the real, but lots of times when we do that, they don't like it. I said, oh bitch, I'm not from Chicago. So that conversation ended with, child, just keep on going. Now, the second conversation we had was, why do people that we work with or work for put us in situations against each other? Some people probably didn't understand what I said, so I'm going to say it one more time. I said, why do people that we work with and work for put us against each other? Say that. And she said, Sion, that was a fight I just didn't want to have. She said, I just want to do my gospel, do my drag, and get some more crowns. And I said, okay. She said, I'll tell you what. She said, whatever you plan on trying to do to help this community, if you come to me real like you're doing right now, I will be there to support you. And that's my memory of Taj Mahal. Because when we have to move on sometimes from different places of employment, we have to move on in a way that keeps our relationships tight, like that glue that Brad spoke of, like that relationship building and wishing for success that Nature spoke on. We must do that. we must also stop waiting until the end. Stop waiting until the end.
That's right.
Stop waiting until the end.
Say that.
Stop waiting until the end to embrace the special gifts that we were blessed with. Because while many of us come from different paths, while many of us come from different places, we met at the same time, and her name was Tajma. Thank you.
I don't even quite know how to start. I just wanted to get up here and speak. I first met Taj about 4.5 years ago when I had moved to the city. And I met her through some new friends that I had made at one of her shows. And so I had gone and seen a couple of her shows, and she gave us her number and was like, we need to go out and eat and hang out sometime. And I was like, oh okay. And I didn't know what to think at first, but no one else was texting her to go and have dinner with her. And so I texted her and I said, you want to go have dinner? And since then we went out and hung out with each other, and once or twice a week we go out to dinner together. And she really helped me through a lot of personal issues I was having moving to the city and everything. And I guess what I really wanted to say is that she helped me find my own strength. And I can't thank her enough. And I love her very much. And every day I want to be able to text her and call her, but it's just something that, even though she's not physically here, I know she's still with me in my heart, and I will never meet somebody else like that again, and she means the world to me, and I love you, and I'll see you again someday.
Many years ago, I was showcast at a bar in my hometown of Little Rock, Arkansas, called Discovery, and which is owned by North Christie, Miss Gay America Emeritus. Anyway, we're in the dressing room painting. It was Katia, myself, and a few others, and special entertainment was going to be Taj Mahal. Well, some of us young dumb queens didn't know who that was, and they said, "Oh, she's a continental queen." Like, oh, because America is very hateful and snobby. But Taj Mahal came that night, and of course she was very, very close with Dominique Sanchez, who's a former Miss Gay Arkansas, Miss Gay America.
That's her daughter.
And that night at the end of the show, I think we all were like, we found out about this continental. We in the wrong system, because she just blew everyone away. Even the most seasoned of the American queens that night could not hold a candle to Taj Mahal. Many years later, I moved to Chicago, and I fell in love with and spent over a year with Jack Nielsen, who, as many of you know, was roommates with Taj Mahal for about a decade. And it was then that I met not Taj Mahal, the performer, but she introduced herself to me as Tanae. So that's the name that I used for her. And Jack was always busy in the evenings with CMSA, and that knock would come at the door, which meant Taj Mahal wanted one of two things. She needed help packing her suitcase, or she wanted to go across the street to Byron's for a hot dog. And I think we had hot dogs and we packed suitcases. But many times when Taj Mahal would be gone, Jack and I would raid her room, have endless parties playing in our costumes and crowns. And, oh yes, you. And many times she'd knock on the door looking for a certain item of jewelry that had come missing, and she'd say, "I know you have it." Jack would play with it in his room. He liked shiny things. But that's the Taj Mahal that I'm with. Not the Taj Mahal, the performer, with this wonderful, beautiful lady. And when Jack and I broke up, which was all my fault, I've never taken ownership of that, but I will. She Facebooked me and she said, let's go out to eat. So we went to ping pong, and she let me know that her friendship with me was not dependent on my relationship with Jack. So I saw her several times over the last few years, and she, when Taj Mahal loved you, she loved you, and she never took it back.